Eyes, flies, knives, guys, and Harry Potter? Get your suitcases, folks, we're checking into the Bates Motel! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 10 Golden Frames, the show where we break down 10 frames from classic films of Hollywood's golden age and figure out what makes them great. I'm your host, Matt Caridi. Today's film comes to us from 1960, directed by Alfred Hitchcock and starring Janet Leigh and Anthony Perkins. It is Psycho, the story of a woman who steals quite a bit of money for the sake of love and happiness, only to cross paths with a svelte gentleman who has a lot of issues. Widely regarded as one of the greatest films of all time, it is undoubtedly the greatest suspense feature from the king of suspense. I'd call it a masterpiece, but that would be a tremendous understatement. I warn you now, we are going to spoil the plot of the film. I've tiptoed around big spoilers in the last two videos, but this time, we gotta go all in. So without further ado, let's get into the pictures. If you find yourself on an isolated road on a rainy night, you're looking for a hotel, and this is the first one you see, turn your ass around and find a Hampton Inn. Get the hell out of there. This is a minimalistic shot. The only real subject or thing we see at all is the sign. And that thing looks depraved. It looks sickly. It's so small in frame that it looks anthropomorphic, which is very unsettling. Not to mention the fact that the camera's tilted, that's called a Dutch tilt, which furthers the bad vibes coming off this sign. From this shot alone, we know that the Bates Motel is not a place we want to be. But Janet Leigh is desperate and tired, and now she's in trouble. Next frame.
If you love someone, you don't do that to them even if you hate them. You understand? I don't hate her. I hate what she's become. I hate the illness.
This frame's a doozy because it teases us. At this point in the film, we think Anthony Perkins is a good dude. He brought food down for Janet in the middle of the night. He got chewed out by his mom, but he didn't let that shake his decorum. But damn it, look at that bird. That thing is creepy, and it's dominating the frame. It's brighter than Anthony Perkins. Thus, our eyes are drawn to it, not him. So even though he looks small and harmless in frame, we as an audience are unsettled. We can't take our eyes off that evil bird, which actually is an owl, I think. Rest in peace, Hedwig. You saved Harry's life, and your sacrifice is not forgotten. Anyway, this is a fine example of how Hitchcock used set design to create suspense during a seemingly harmless conversation. He is the master. Next frame. So now Norman's getting a little peepee, and we're starting to suspect maybe he's not a good guy. Now this shot is an extreme close-up, and when you see an eyeball this close, it gives us this strange sensation that we're looking, that that's our eye. We get the feeling that we're peeping because we're so intensely watching someone else do it. An extreme close-up of an eye or a hand or whatever gives you a certain sense of agency that is not accomplished any other way. Everyone's eyeball looks like this up close, and that's why we feel as if it could be ours. Also, the composition of the shot is perfectly balanced. It is an undeniably beautiful image. I wish I had a poster of it in my room. Next frame. This shot is so foreboding. Who frames a person this small and so far right in frame during a shower scene? Nobody! Unless something's gonna happen in that big chunk of negative space. I mean, this is a lot of real estate to leave behind your subject, and that's why this shot is so suspenseful. If we were just watching her shower, she would be dominating the frame, but she isn't dominating the frame, so we know something's amiss, and we are instantly unsettled. It's another masterful shot by Hitchcock, and we're not even mentioning how he moves the camera in this scene, which is a totally different show. Next frame. out of nowhere. This movie is unbelievable, and this shot is iconic. The actor's name is Martin Balsam, playing Detective Milton Arbogast, and his eyes act as a conduit for how we're feeling: surprised, scared, disturbed. He's off balance, falling down the stairs, and we're off balance because we did not see that one coming. I mean, maybe you did, but jeezy peasy, that music catches you on the chin. And that blood splatter on his face is perfect. The high angle is perfect. Both attributes highlight the main attraction of the frame, which is his face, his expression. He's looking at whoever just did this to him, and he's shook. Of course, he just got stabbed, but the look in his eyes, well, we know what he's looking at ain't pretty. Next frame. This is one hell of a silhouette. It belongs to Lila Crane, played by Vera Miles. She's coming to the door to meet Sam Loomis, played by John Gavin, who is snooping around the Bates Motel, looking for both the detective from our last frame and Norman Bates himself. Here's why this shot rocks. It's friggin' beautiful. There's a ton of depth in the image, thus the twinkles of light in the background are fat and out of focus, which is very cinematic. Vera Miles is totally in shadow. She's in the dark, which mimics the fact that she does not know where her sister or detective friend is. Thus, this shot symbolizes her understanding of her situation. She's in the dark. Leave it to Hitchcock to make a simple action line from a script into a cinematic jewel. Next frame.
I'm not saying you shouldn't be contented here. I'm just doubting that you are. I think if you saw a chance to get out from under, you'd unload this place.
This place? This place happens to be my only world.
John Gavin again, this time distracting Anthony Perkins. He's asking personal, hard-boiled questions. He's trying to get to the bottom of what the hell is going on, and he's fearless about it. There's a bit of forced perspective in this frame. Anthony Perkins is leaning against the wall. John Gavin is standing straight up, closer to the camera. This causes him to look bigger than he actually is, which gives us the feeling that he's in control, that he's dominating the situation. Anthony Perkins, on the other hand, is hunched over. He is not dominating, he is on defense. Couple this technique with great set dressing, and we have an extremely well-composed shot. Next frame. You want to talk about suspense? Here it is. We as the audience see the full picture. Vera Miles has a bad hiding spot. She's pressed against the banisters to show that she has no way out. 5 more steps in her direction and she's cooked. So Hitchcock does not waste this opportunity. He made sure that Anthony Perkins paused when he came into the house to give us a quick shot of absolute dread. We suspect that he won't find her like this, but that doesn't mean we feel that way. Our physiological reaction is to cringe, to tighten up and be nervous. On top of all that, we again have stellar set design that keeps the rest of this frame interesting. It's another great shot from the maestro himself. Next frame.
Mrs. Bates.
This shot is so freaking disturbing. When I rewatched Psycho for the sake of this video, I forgot that this is how the scene plays out. Suffice to say that I was shook. Scared is not good enough. Surprised, frightened, disturbed, those are better words. I was left in terror, and this is the 4th time I've seen this movie at least. I'm not afraid of cross-dressers. I'm afraid of this maniacal son of a bitch wearing his mom's dress and carrying a knife the size of a yardstick. This cellar is creepy. Anthony Perkins' long body in a dress is creepier. And what's worse, this is what Janet Leigh and Martin Balsam saw before they got killed. They saw this in 1960. The audience saw this in 1960. They were shook. I am shook. Hitchcock is a damn genius. Last frame.
Thank you.
This is a minimalistic shot. The camera moves forward as the scene plays out, but this is where it starts. There's a ton of negative space in this frame, and that makes Anthony Perkins appear isolated. He's totally lost in his own head at this point in the story, and the room he's in looks a great deal like an old-timey sanitarium. Thus, The imagery reflects his state of mind. He looks like a sick person, and that's primarily due to the composition of this frame. It's a doozy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, those were 10 golden frames, and that's our show, which brings me to my request for you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, get on board this train because we're rolling. And remember, without positive feedback, I will wither away like a plant without water because I'm a millennial and I need affirmation. We appreciate you for watching our show and spending your time with us. Watch Psycho if you haven't already. It is bafflingly good. Until next time, keep watching movies.